Marcus never imagined that something as simple as changing his Wi-Fi password would end with police at his front door at midnight. Yet there they were, two officers, flashlights in hand, standing on his porch like he'd just committed some serious crime, and right behind them was Karen, his next-door neighbor, arms crossed, face flushed with anger, wearing a smug grin like she'd just cracked an international cybercrime case. "Sir, we've received a report about unauthorized hacking," one officer said, barely stifling a yawn. "Your neighbor claims you illegally accessed her Wi-Fi and tampered with her internet." Marcus blinked once, then twice, and then he burst out laughing, convinced it had to be a prank, a bad one. But one look at Karen's face told him she wasn't joking. She stood there with the righteous confidence of someone convinced she'd just caught a master criminal red-handed, oversized sunglasses still perched on her head despite the pitch-black night. "Ma'am," Marcus said, rubbing his forehead, "are you seriously accusing me of hacking your Wi-Fi? The Wi-Fi that belongs to me, in my own house?" "Yes," Karen snapped. "I don't know what you did, but ever since you messed with it, my son and I have no internet. It was working fine before and then boom, it's gone. The only thing that changed is you." Marcus's brain stalled for a moment. Had she just openly admitted to piggybacking off his internet in front of the police? One of the officers let out a long, weary sigh, clearly regretting every decision that led to this midnight call. "Sir," the officer said, "can you explain what happened?" Marcus exhaled. "Look, my internet was slow. I checked my router and saw a bunch of devices connected that weren't mine. So, I changed my password." "That's literally all I did." Karen gasped as if he'd just confessed to grand theft. "Exactly. You cut us off without warning. That's illegal." Marcus looked at the officers, waiting for one of them to put an end to this absurdity. The two men exchanged a glance, probably debating whose turn it was to deal with the nonsense. Finally, the older cop spoke. "Ma'am, your neighbor's within his rights to change his own Wi-Fi password. It's his service." Karen's face contorted. "You don't get it. This is a community. We share things. And now my son can't even do his homework." Marcus almost laughed again. "Homework? Lady, your kid spends every night screaming into his gaming headset and trash-talking strangers online." Karen's gasp could have shattered glass. "How dare you!" By now, even the officers looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. The younger one sighed and gave Marcus a wary look. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" "Press charges?" Marcus echoed. "Technically," the officer shrugged, scratching his head, "using someone's Wi-Fi without permission could be considered theft." Karen's eyes widened in horror. Marcus considered it briefly. But ultimately, he had a better idea. "No," Marcus said, "I don't want to press charges. I just want to get some sleep." The officers exchanged a relieved glance. The older one turned to Karen. "Ma'am, stop using your neighbor's internet without permission. If you're having a problem, call your provider." "Have a good night." Karen, still fuming, stormed off, but not before jabbing a trembling finger in Marcus's direction. This isn't over. As soon as she was out of sight, Marcus shut his door and muttered, "Oh, I know." But the next morning, a new nightmare began. His mailbox was crammed with angry, handwritten notes from Karen, each one more dramatic than the last. One scrawled letter read, "Shame on you for destroying community spirit." Another warned, "God sees what you did." The by _diarisista or copyright assistance. A fake petition titled "Make Marcus Give Back the Wi-Fi" with Karen's name scribbled a dozen times in different handwriting. Word spread fast. At the local coffee shop, two elderly women whispered behind their cups when he walked by. "That's him," one muttered. At the grocery store, a dad tugged his kid away like Marcus was contagious. Even the mailman shot him a sympathetic look. Karen had somehow convinced half the neighborhood that Marcus was some evil hacker who locked them out of a sacred Wi-Fi network. Then things got weirder. That night, while double-checking his router settings, Marcus noticed something odd, a device still connected to his network. It wasn't one of Karen's. His stomach sank. He'd changed the password twice. No one else should have been able to get in. Someone was inside his network. Heart pounding, Marcus traced the activity. Whoever it was wasn't just browsing. They were accessing files, login credentials, and even making financial transactions. Then he saw the IP address. It was coming from Karen's house. Marcus's pulse raced. This wasn't just freeloading anymore, it was something serious. Someone over there wasn't just stealing internet, they were up to something shady. He decided to set a trap. Marcus reopened his Wi-Fi network under a fake, generic name, something innocuous like free public Wi-Fi. Then he installed a tracking program to monitor every connection and activity in real time. It took less than 10 minutes for the mystery device to pop up again. But this time, it wasn't just casual web browsing. They were digging into banking accounts, cryptocurrency wallets, serious stuff. Marcus's stomach twisted. If someone in Karen's house was running illegal operations using his network, it could land him in trouble if traced back. He needed proof. He watched as the device connected to a private server, something well beyond casual freeloading. Whoever this was, they knew what they were doing. Marcus realized this was no longer something he could ignore. But confronting Karen wouldn't be simple. Marching over there without evidence would just turn into another shouting match. So, Marcus printed out the connection logs, timestamps, and a detailed activity report. If she wanted a scene, fine. This time, he was ready. When Marcus knocked on her door, Karen answered with a glare. Well, if it isn't the Wi-Fi tyrant. Come to apologize? Marcus held up the papers. We need to talk. Karen rolled her eyes. What now? Did my grass grow too tall for your liking? Someone in your house is hacking accounts through my network, Marcus said, his voice low and steady. For a second, Karen actually looked confused. What are you talking about? Marcus handed over the printouts. These logs show a device connecting from your house. It's been accessing financial records. Login credentials are broken. This isn't just about Wi-Fi anymore, Karen. This is serious, Marcus said firmly. Karen skimmed through the papers, her frown deepening before she let out a dismissive scoff. This is nonsense. I don't even know what half of this means. Marcus watched her face carefully. She wasn't faking it. She genuinely had no clue, which could only mean one thing: someone else in that house was behind this. And right on cue, her expression shifted, realization dawning in her eyes as she whipped her head toward the stairs. Brad! She bellowed. Marcus felt a cold shiver run through him. Oh number! Heavy footsteps thundered down from upstairs, and a teenage boy appeared at the landing. Brad, Karen's son, looked about 17, headphones dangling around his neck and a laptop clutched in his hands so tightly his knuckles turned white. Karen brandished the printouts. Explain this. Brad's face went ghostly pale. A broken bar? I don't know what that is. Karen's nostrils flared. Marcus says someone here's been using his Wi-Fi. She squinted at the documents. Broken bar hacker stuff. Brad swallowed hard. That's stupid. I don't know anything about that. Marcus didn't miss the way Brad's eyes flicked nervously to the front door, or how he held the laptop like it was a lifeline. Karen narrowed her gaze. Bradley, a broken bar, give me the laptop. Brad stepped back, panicked. No, Mom. Her voice turned razor sharp. Now, Brad's face flashed with pure panic. It's mine. You can't just. But Karen lunged forward, snatching the laptop from his grip before he could react. Clutching it like a trophy, she marched down the stairs. Brad looked like he was about to pass out. Marcus braced himself as Karen opened the laptop. Her lips tightened as she clicked around, then she suddenly froze mid-sentence, her expression contorting into shock. Mom, please, Brad pleaded, inching toward the stairs. I can explain. Karen's eyes snapped up to Marcus, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked genuinely terrified. What a broken bar? What is this? She whispered. Marcus leaned in. The screen displayed a damning list of stolen accounts, streaming services, online banking logins, credit card numbers, cryptocurrency wallets, all under various usernames. Brad had been hacking people's private data. Marcus swore under his breath. He knew it was bad, but these a broken bar, this was felony level stuff. Karen turned toward her son, her voice trembling. Brad, a broken bar, what have you done? Brad was already backpedaling. It's nothing, okay? Karen's voice rose. You stole people's accounts. Brad's panic twisted into defiance. It's not like that. It's just streaming stuff. People share those all the time. Marcus crossed his arms. And the bank accounts? The crypto wallets? You were stealing money. Karen looked like she was going to faint. Her face had drained of color. Brad, she stammered. A broken bar. They can trace this back to us. Brad opened his mouth but quickly shut it. He'd known the whole time. For once, Karen was speechless. She dropped the laptop onto the table like it was a live grenade. Oh my God, Marcus sighed. Yeah, that's what I said. Karen began shaking her head, fast and frantic. No, number. This can't be happening. This is your fault, she shrieked, whirling on Marcus. You did something to make this happen. You've been out to get us since you moved in. Marcus just stared at her. Are you serious right now? Karen pointed a trembling finger at Brad. Tell me the truth. Did Marcus hack your laptop? Brad's face twisted in frustration. Mom, what? No, it wasn't him. Karen clapped her hands over her ears. I don't want to hear it. We're fixing this. We're making this disappear. Marcus let out a dry laugh. Karen, this isn't like getting a parking ticket. Your kid's been committing actual crimes. She ignored him, pacing like a cornered animal. Then, she turned to Marcus with a manic glint in her eye. You don't have to tell anyone, right? We can forget this ever happened. Marcus arched a brow. You're kidding. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I could bake you something. My cookies are amazing. Marcus blinked. I'm allergic to gluten. Karen's jaw clenched. Fine, I'll pay you. Marcus exhaled. Lady, your son's running cyber crimes. The cops would have caught on sooner or later. Her face twisted in fury. You think you're so smart, don't you? And as if the universe had perfect comedic timing, a loud knock echoed through the house. Brad stiffened like a statue. Karen's eyes darted toward the door. Her breathing hitched. Marcus folded his arms. Well, that was quick. Karen's entire body went rigid. You didn't. A broken bar. Marcus just smirked. The knock came again, heavier, more urgent. Then a voice boomed through the door. This is the FBI. We need to speak with Bradley Smith. Karen gasped. Brad looked like he was going to drop on the spot. Marcus casually took a sip of his coffee. The room fell into an eerie silence. Karen stood frozen, pale as a ghost. Brad was trembling, his hands twitching. The knock came again. This is the FBI. The deep voice repeated. We need to speak with Bradley Smith. Karen's eyes darted between the door and her son, her brain visibly short-circuiting. Then, in a wild move, she grabbed Brad by the arm and hissed, Go to your room, delete everything. Now. Brad yanked free, shaking his head. Mom, number. That's not how this works. They already know. Marcus watched as Karen's face morphed from terror to frantic desperation. You did this, she shrieked, jabbing a trembling finger at him. You called them. Marcus raised an eyebrow, utterly unfazed. Lady, your kid's been pulling cyber crimes off my Wi-Fi for who knows how long. Only thing I did was cut him off. Before she could unleash another meltdown, a voice boomed through the door. Mrs. Smith, we know you're inside. Open the door or we have a warrant. Marcus let out a low whistle. Oh wow, a warrant. That's bad. Karen made a high-pitched noise that sounded like a dying kettle, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Then, in a move that could only be described as utterly unhinged, she snatched Brad's laptop off the table and hurled it at Marcus. Take it. It's yours, she yelled. Marcus barely caught it, blinking in disbelief. What the hell are you doing? Karen flailed her arms like she was directing air traffic. They can't find it here. It's yours now. You planted it. Marcus stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Are you seriously trying to frame me right now? You had access to our Wi-Fi, she screamed. You could have done this. You're the hacker. Marcus scoffed. Karen, you literally just shouted a delete everything 5 seconds ago. Brad groaned and dragged a hand down his face. Mom, stop. But Karen grabbed him by the shoulders, shaking him like a snow globe. Not another word. Deny everything. The pounding at the door grew heavier, the voice outside calling one final warning. Last chance. Open the door, or we're coming in. Karen gulped down a breath, turned to the door, took one step a broken bar, then bolted for the back of the house. Marcus blinked. Is it too late? Karen dove through the backyard window, glass shattered, a loud thud followed by a pitiful groan. Marcus peered out and saw her sprawled across her garden gnome display, tangled and moaning. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. Brad slapped a hand to his forehead. She's lost it. Before either could react, the front door burst open and FBI agents poured in, weapons raised and moving with military precision. Within seconds, Brad had his hands up, looking like he was about to cry. One agent snatched the laptop from Marcus while another peered out the shattered window. The agent grunted, seeing Karen. "We might need medics for that one," Karen wailed. "I'm innocent." An agent rolled his eyes. "Ma'am, you just jumped out of a window." "I panicked," she whined. Marcus leaned against the wall, watching it all like a front row seat to a crime drama. Brad was restrained, agents combed through files on the laptop, and Karen moaned amid toppled garden decorations. Finally, one agent turned to Marcus. "You the one who reported the unauthorized network access?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah. Didn't think it'd blow up like this though." The agent flipped through a small notebook. "Actually, you're not the only one. We've been tracing fraud cases connected to Brad's activity for weeks. Kid's been hacking accounts in multiple states." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Multiple states?" Brad groaned. "Oh, come on." Broken bar Karen, still sprawled in the dirt, shrieked. "He's just a kid. You can't arrest a child." The nearest agent sighed. "Ma'am, he's 18, legally an adult." Karen let out a tortured, half sob, half screech. But he didn't mean to." Brad sighed in defeat. "Mom, please stop talking." The agents paid her no mind and returned to Marcus. "We appreciate your cooperation. This could have gotten a lot worse if it had gone unchecked." Marcus shrugged. "Honestly, I just wanted to reset my Wi-Fi password." One of the agents chuckled. "Well, you probably saved a lot of people from identity theft." Meanwhile, Karen was still rolling around in the grass, pointing dramatically at Marcus. "He's the real hacker. He framed my baby." An agent exchanged a look with his partner, then addressed her with a tired sigh. "Ma'am, we've got months of evidence linking your son to this. We've been on his trail for a while." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a malfunctioning puppet before she finally slumped back into the grass. "This is so unfair," she whined. Brad sighed. "Can I just go to jail now?" The agents finished up, secured Brad's laptop, and led him toward the door. Karen scrambled to her feet, running after them. "Wait, I'll get a lawyer." The door slammed behind them. Silence. Marcus exhaled and glanced around the wreck of a house. The shattered glass, Karen's pile of complaint letters still sitting on the counter. For the first time since moving in, everything was finally quiet. He walked back to his house, locking the door behind him, dropped onto his couch, opened his laptop, and connected to his Wi-Fi. No leeches. No hackers, just peace. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Karen's house was empty. Brad was facing serious felony charges. And Karen? She'd been seen loading a moving truck, scowling as furiously as she did every time she'd yelled at Marcus. By noon, she was gone. As Marcus watered his plants, his elderly neighbor George strolled by, giving him a knowing nod. "Heard Karen moved out," George remarked. Marcus smirked. "Yep." George chuckled. "Guess that means you won." Marcus took a deep breath, savoring the calm, hacker-free air. "Oh," he grinned. "I definitely won.